Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second part of our February March 2025 series for Paper 4 Advanced Practical in Information Technology. By the end of this tutorial, we will learn how to solve Task 3, which will require us to solve a question on animation. In an animation application software, set a frame size of 600 pixels wide and 600 pixels high. Each numbered SVG file found in the source files must be animated and should take 1 second to move into position. The pieces should move in order and towards the direction shown. Note that some of the pieces need to be rotated during the animation to fit properly. The ninth piece should take 1 second to fade into view at the correct position. Add the text, putting it all together above the image at the start of the animation. The text must grow from 12 points to the width of the image as all the pieces are moving into position. Save the animation in GIF format with the file name TL logo animation underscore followed by a center number underscore candidate number. So here we are in Adobe Animate, and based on the question, we are to set up an artboard of a size of 600 by 600. So you go to File, New, and under the details where it says width and height, you enter the dimensions. We can leave the frame rate on 30 or 24. Leave the platform type on ActionScript and click on Create. The first thing I want us to do is to make sure the stage is fit in window up here. Drop down 100, fit in window, and ensure that the workspace is on basic. The next thing we are going to do is to import our files. So we head to File, Import, and select Import to Library. Now in the source folder, we have 1 up to 9, so you can select all at a go. Click on Open. And when this pop-up appears, select the first choice. Import all parts into the same layer and frame. So you will be doing this 9 times because we have 9 files. Now let's head to our right to the Properties panel and look for Library over here. And make sure that all the files are in. Since each image will take 1 second to move into position, we can assume that the animation will take at least 9 seconds. And on the 10-second mark, we will have a full view of how the image should look like, plus the text. So let's head to 10 seconds on the timeline. Ten seconds on the timeline of layer 1. And begin by adding a keyframe. You can now drag and drop SVG1 or the first image onto the stage. Now this circle you are seeing here is the reference point in case you want to scale or rotate. So let's pick the free transform tool to activate it, and then let's move it into position, which should be in the center. And then now we create a new layer. On which we will place image 2. And also make sure the reference point is in the center. You can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to adjust. Now image 4 needs to be rotated, so I'll bring the reference point to the center, bring my cursor to one of the diagonal corners and hold down shift whilst I rotate and put it in place. Let me do that again. Great, and then make sure it's in place. Now we must note down that we rotated image 4, so you can write that down somewhere so that you don't forget. So before I bring in image 5, I create a new layer again and I drag and drop it in here. Now let's head back to layer 6, the last keyframe, and we need to rotate that as well, so we note that down as well, that image 6 was rotated. So we have image 4 and 6 so far. Back to image 7. So finally, this is how it's supposed to look like. We can select everything and use the arrow keys to reposition them, align them to the center, and leave some space for the text that is finally going to appear at the top. So this is fine. The next thing we are going to do is to copy each keyframe that we had at the end here to where they made an entrance. So for instance, let's go to the first layer, the very first one, layer 1. So right click on the keyframe and then say copy frame, and then we move to 1 second where it finally made its entrance, or 30 frames. You can enter 30 here to be sure you're on that mark. Right click and say paste frame. We can now move our playhead to the 0 mark and paste there as well. Next, we decrease the size of our stage to say 50, or we can even go further down to 40. Next thing you do is drag your image out of the stage this way. And finally, right click between the 0 and the 1 second mark and create a classic tween. So in so doing, we have our first movement. So we're going to repeat the process for all the other layers. So layer 2, right click the last keyframe, copy. So it finally settled on the second or on the 2-second mark, which is 60 frames. Right click and then paste. And it started from the 1-second mark. So you paste here as well. And move it also outside of the stage. Right click in between the 1 second and the 2-second mark and create a classic tween. So these are our first two animations. 1, 2. So note that with layer 4, we had to do a little rotation. So as I bring it out, hold down shift and rotate it on its axis. So originally, this is how it's supposed to be. Then right click in between and let's create a classic tween. So when it's coming in, it will rotate and go into place. Now 6 also needs to be rotated. So originally it's the other way around. So okay. For the last image, it will take 1 second to fade into view. So we will do it a little bit differently. You still copy the frame, come to the 8-second mark where it will begin from, paste frame. But this time around, we head up into Insert and create a motion twin. After which we move 1 second ahead, but before we do that, we head up to Properties, and under Properties we look for Object, and under Object you should see Color Effects. Drop down and come down to Alpha and drag the amount you see there from 100 or 98 to 0. Come back to the timeline, drag your playhead 1 second forward because it's going to use 1 second. Go back to Object once again and drag the alpha up to 100. Now let's go ahead and run a quick test on our animation. So we go to Control, Test, Test and Animate. So we realize that image 7 flickers a bit and comes back into position. So let's fix that. Let's head back to image 7, layer 7. Click on the first keyframe of layer 7. I think this is layer 7. So as it comes in, let's click on the last keyframe where it's supposed to end, and here we have it. You see the reference point is not in the center, so let's bring it to the center. And let's run a test again. The next part is to add a text, and that will be on top of the image. Let's head to layer 9 and add a new layer. And let's head to our first frame, frame 0. Pick the type tool. Make sure the character is Times New Roman and the size is 12 from the Tools tab here. Fill color should be black. Just click anywhere up here where you can reposition it later and type in the sentence, putting it all together. Now use the move tool to try and place it somewhere in the middle. So at 12 point, this is how it's supposed to start. Now without resizing the text, let's zoom in on our stage. Pick the free transform tool and ensure that the spelling is correct and the reference point is in the middle. So the spelling is out of place. Now still on the text layer, we place our playhead on the first frame of the text. Go to Insert and create a motion twin. We now move to 9 seconds, by which time all images have appeared. And pick the free transform tool and resize our text. Not only do we resize, but we need to reposition. So after you've resized it like this, you can use the arrows on the keyboard to position it in place. I'm going to zoom in further so that I have more access to the handles, like this. Let's go ahead and test our animation once again. Finally, we can go ahead and export our file as an animated GIF. So to do that, we head to File, Export. Come down to Save and change the name. It's going to be TL Logo. So you click on Save and we are good to go. And the most important thing we have learned is when it comes to putting an image together, always begin with how it's finally going to look before you go ahead and add the animations at the beginning. And with that, we've come to the end of this tutorial. All comments, questions, and suggestions are welcome. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And till I see you in the next video, it's bye.